Let's step into one of the most private spaces you can imagine, a psychoanalyst's consulting room. We always think of therapy as the talking cure, right? It's all about words. But what if the room itself, the art on the wall, the objects on the shelves, the whole vibe is actually part of the conversation? Let's find out what's really hiding in plain sight.
Seriously, just picture it. You're on the couch, you're talking, sure, but your eyes are wandering. You're looking around. What do you see? And more importantly, what does it all mean? Today, we're diving into how these silent objects in an analyst's room can become, well, really active players in the whole therapeutic journey.
And this whole exploration kicks off with a really personal story from our source material. The author, Anna Parker, found herself totally fixated on this one Monet print in her analyst's office. She wasn't quite ready to talk about her own feelings of despair, so instead, she started analyzing the painting, searching it for clues about this person she was supposed to trust with her deepest secrets.
So, to really get why a painting on a wall matters so much, we have to go back, way back, right to the beginning, to the father of psychoanalysis himself, Sigmund Freud. Because his office, well, it set a really fascinating and kind of contradictory precedent for all of this.
Psychoanalysis is famously known as the talking cure. The entire method is built on language, right? On patients just saying whatever pops into their head, no filter. It's all about the words. Or is it?
Well, here's the paradox. For a talking cure, Freud's office was absolutely jam-packed with over 2,000 silent, ancient objects. His desk was basically a mini museum of Neolithic tools, Egyptian art, and tiny Greek and Roman statues.
And make no mistake, these were not just decorations. Not at all. They were active tools in his work. They fueled his theories about how our past is always preserved in our present. He would even pick them up and hand them to patients, hoping to unlock a memory. They were silent, but boy, they spoke volumes.
Okay, so that's the history. But how does this legacy play out today? To find out, we're going to do a little investigating. We're going to step into the consulting rooms of 3 modern analysts, and each one comes from a totally different branch of the British Psychoanalytic Society.
So we've got 3 really distinct approaches here. First, the Freudians, who often aren't afraid to let their personality show. Then you've got the Kleinians, who tend to go for a more neutral, uncluttered space. And finally, the independents, who try to create what they call a good enough holding environment. Let's see what that actually looks like.
All right, first up, let's pay a visit to the Freudian analyst, a man named Dr. T. His room is a direct descendant of Freud's own philosophy of personal expression.
Dr. T is completely comfortable in what he calls his little Freud space. His shelves are just filled with his own history. A rock from a glacier, a silver salt cellar, all sorts of glassware. He's not trying to be a blank slate at all. His personality is right there for you to see.
Now imagine you're the patient on the couch. This is your view. A really striking 1985 print by the artist Bruce McLean. It's abstract, it's got a ton of energy, and it's full of ambiguous images. Is that a figure, a ladder, a doorway, maybe a halo?
And that ambiguity, that's the whole point. The artwork isn't supposed to give you easy answers. Instead, it works like a screen, just inviting patients to project their own feelings, their own ideas onto it. So, what do you see?
So get this, when Dr. T showed the print to some of his colleagues, one of them immediately and confidently said, "I think it's about death." He saw the figure as passing into another dimension. One patient said they hated it, which Dr. T took as a comment about him, the analyst. The art becomes a way to have a conversation without having the conversation.
Okay, so from that cluttered, expressive room, we're now going to swing to the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the Kleinian ideal of restraint and neutrality.
The theory here is pretty straightforward. If you really want to access a patient's raw, unconscious thoughts, the analyst's personality should interfere as little as possible. The room should be a blank canvas, a neutral vessel containing only what the patient brings into it. But, as you can guess, it's not always that simple.
Kleinian analyst Bob Hinchelwood's room was very minimalist, but he did have one small private print. It showed a woman holding her hands up like binoculars, and the caption screamed, "Do you understand?" But as he explains, it wasn't for the patient. It was for him, a private reminder to himself, a question that drove his entire life's work. See? Even in a neutral space, meaning finds a way in.
And that brings us to our final case study. We're heading to the independent school with analyst Jonathan Sklar, who kind of blends ideas from both Freud and Klein.
The guiding idea here is inspired by Donald Winnicott's famous concept of the good enough mother.
The thinking is that the room doesn't have to be perfect or sterile. It just has to be stable, consistent, and safe enough to act as a holding environment where the patient feels free to explore their inner world.
And what hangs in Sklar's office? This delicate little etching by Michael Landy. It's not a dramatic landscape or a bold abstract piece. It's a weed, a creeping buttercup, the kind of thing most of us would see growing in a crack in the sidewalk and not even notice.
And the metaphor here is just beautiful. The artwork represents the work of analysis itself, taking something humble, something overlooked, something that might seem insignificant, and really seeing its value and its worth. It suggests that what patients are looking for might not be some huge hidden trauma, but something small that's been in their sightline all along.
So, after visiting these 3 very different rooms with 3 very different philosophies, what's the big takeaway? What's the secret of the art in the analyst room?
Well, it's true. The analyst is the one who chooses the art, the books, the objects on the shelf. They bring their own history, their own tastes, their own theories right into the physical space. They set the stage.
But ultimately, those objects just sit there, dormant, until a patient lies on the couch. It's the patient's own history, their hopes, their fears, their fantasies, that actually activates the room and gives everything inside it a powerful, dynamic meaning.
And we'll end on this really profound thought from the author. She realized that in trying to understand these rooms, she was really just documenting her own state of mind. The art doesn't just hang on the wall, it looks back at us, reflecting our own inner world. And that leaves us with one final question. What do the rooms in your life reveal about you?